Welcome to G Street Fabric's Bernina guide class for the 5 series embroidery module. By now you would have learned how to attach your module, set up your sewing machine, and put together your design. Now we'll continue this tutorial on how to prep your embroidery hoop. Before we begin, let's gather all the materials needed. Today, we'll be using embroidery thread, a medium-sized embroidery hoop with template, fabric to embroider on, a medium-weight stabilizer, rotary cutter self-healing mat and ruler, chalk or fabric marker, and a temporary spray adhesive. First off, let's take your fabric and find the center of where you'd like to place your embroidery design on and mark it with a chalk or erasable pen. Here we have the embroidery hoop, and it comes in 2 components. One goes under your fabric and the other one goes over. And the outer hoop has the locking mechanism on the side. A template marked in centimeters is also included. The inner hoop allows you to mount the template on. Just make sure that you can read the logo right side up towards you. The center of the template is also punched out for ease of marking the center of your fabric. Now let's align the template with the mark we've just drawn. But before we hoop it, let's stick the stabilizer first onto the back of your fabric. And the stabilizer only needs to be at least an inch larger than your hoop. For this tutorial, we're using a medium weight tearaway stabilizer by OESD. And to cut your stabilizer piece, we'd like to use a rotary cutter, a ruler, and a cutting mat. It's just a whole lot easier using these tools. Now it's time to spray on the temporary adhesive to the stabilizer so we can stick it onto the back of the fabric. Our favorite spray is Otif's 505 spray adhesive. It's great to use for basting quilts too. And for your safety, we'd advise you to spray outdoors or at a well-ventilated area to avoid inhaling dangerous fumes. All right, the stabilizer is now on, and let's put together the embroidery hoop. Take note of the center of your design so you have enough space around where your hoop will be. To assemble your hoop, take the smaller hoop and align it to the center of your fabric. Bring your smaller hoop and fabric over the large outer hoop. Your inner and outer hoop must align on the arrow markers located at the bottom. They should be pointing towards each other. Push the hoops into one another. The outer hoop screw must be loose enough to allow the smaller hoop and fabric through. To tighten the hoop, bring it to the edge of the table with the screw hanging off the corner to help tighten the screw easily. Just double check your center is still in place. Remove the template and just by a tiny bit, push your inner hoop back to separate the inner and outer hoop apart by about 1 millimeter or 1/8 of an inch. This is to prevent your hoop from scratching the metal surface of your sewing machine. Then, tighten the hoop once more to secure. Then your embroidery hoop should be tight enough to resemble a drum. We're going to thread the bobbin now. In this stitch out, we are using a lightweight thread in a neutral color. We won't really see it since it's at the bottom of the fabric, but you can match it with the color of your fabric or the upper thread if you'd like. Also shown here, attached to the back of the sewing machine, is the optional multiple spool holder accessory. It helps regulate how your thread is fed through, and you can use it to sort out the order of your thread changes. Once your bobbin is ready, place it into the bobbin case and into the machine as you normally would. There's also an optional accessory that you can use to enhance your embroidery. This yellow bobbin case has a higher tension than the regular black bobbin case. Basically, this prevents any possibility of your bobbin thread ever appearing on the surface of your fabric. This is ideal for freestanding lace embroidery. For this tutorial, we'll just use the regular black bobbin case. Now we're going to thread our first color, which is the blue thread for the steering wheel design. And since we have the multiple spool holder, we'll also thread the second color, color red, and have it ready too. Just to note, if you are using the multiple spool holder, make sure to put your thread through the hook that's attached to the holder first, then thread it through directly to the back of your machine like so. But if you're threading through the machine's built-in spool holder, thread it as you would normally. Finally ready to stitch out our design. Now select the needle icon, and it's the icon at the bottom right of your screen. Your module will calibrate a bit, then ask you to place your hoop on the arm of the embroidery module. Carefully slide the hoop under the embroidery foot with the foot raised, making sure that the attaching mechanism is to the left and your fabric is right side up. Press both attaching mechanisms of the hoop towards each other. Then place the side of the hoop above the bracket of the embroidery arm. Press the hoop down until it clicks in position. Then release. Then tap on the green check mark on the screen to confirm. It'll do another dance, and this time the needle will hover over the center of your hoop. This is for you to check if you've aligned the center correctly. Back to the screen, we're now viewing the stitch out mode. The first design to be stitched is highlighted on screen, and there are now new sets of icons shown around here. On this side, we have the updated total time to stitch your entire design. It currently says 70 minutes to complete using the slowest speed. The time indicated below is the time to complete stitching your first thread color only. We're going to alter the total time for stitch out by changing the dial to half speed to make it a little quicker. Once we start, the duration time will update, and it should take less time to complete since we are now stitching at a faster speed. Let's quickly go through the new sets of icons here using the call for help icon, which you can do in your own pace as well. To activate the call for help, tap on the question mark, and a blue border and blue question mark will appear in the middle of your screen. That's how you know when it's activated. Then select an icon that you'd like to ask about. A new window will then appear explaining its features, and once it's answered your question, you can go ahead and exit it. Also, if you're wondering about the flashing green start-stop button, that's your machine signaling to you that it's ready for stitch out. You may have also noticed that it was lit in red previously. This is because back then your machine was not ready for stitch out, and it was on editing mode. Before we start embroidering, let's double check our setup. Make sure that the correct foot has been selected, in this case the number 26 embroidery foot, which will be included with your module. Confirm that the correct hoop size is activated. In this case we're using the medium hoop, and a 5.5 millimeter stitch plate, which is on the 5 series, is the standard size for a 535. The B570 and 590 will have 9 millimeters as the standard stitch plate. Then check that your feed dogs are down. When you're ready, hold on to the thread tail. Make sure that the thread has been threaded through the embroidery foot also. Start stitching by holding the green button down until it locks 4 to 5 stitches. Your machine will either automatically halt and prompt you to cut the thread tail after the locking stitches, or you can pause stitching manually by pressing the Start-Stop button again after 4 to 5 stitches, but be careful not to cut the connecting thread. Then continue stitching by pressing the green button again. And watch her go. Once the first design layer is done stitching, your machine will stop and you will need to rethread your machine with your second thread color. Then repeat the locking stitch steps once more and continue stitching your second layer. When your design is finally done stitching, remove the hoop off the embroidery module carefully and trim off any connecting threads if necessary. And there you have it, your first machine embroidery stitch out. To remove your embroidery module, push the release lever down and slide to the left. Always handle your module from the bottom and never carry it from the arm. Bernina also carries a variety of optional hoops, accessories, and guidebooks to achieve the best results. Feel free to give us a call at G Street to ask more about it. Until next time, thanks for tuning in to G Street Fabrics Bernina Guide Class.